Didn't that feel good? Some of us are past the age where anyone invites us to sing a song from 10 to 15 years ago. So it's nice to just let it go in an ooh and an ah and an oh. So relief and succor. It's a phrase pulled from one of the oldest documents establishing our congregational way. By that, of course, I mean covenant, as the container which holds our individual congregations together, holds all of us as individuals together. We lack uniformity of belief, and we have no creed or confession, yet we make promises together. We hold those promises together. We hold this covenant together, this practice of staying and restoring. Last week, we explored the roots of covenant, of staying and restoring. It was essential, as I told you, to our ancestors living in the challenges of their day. And even though their theology wasn't so different from those around them, they knew that they needed to do church differently. The true church for them couldn't be hierarchical. It couldn't exist at the direction of or in service to a king or bishop. The holy was found in relationship. Together they would experience name and live into it. Together they would survive. And thus they made the promise to each other to offer relief and succor. That is mutual aid. They understood that they needed to voluntarily share resources and services to each other and their congregation because in their day too, they were in need of comfort, of aid, of help. In such a week as this, who could doubt that need? The shooting at Evergreen High and the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Perhaps the shooters had very little in common, except for each was content to isolate and to dive into radical ideologies, hatred at its core, and each saw gun violence as, if not the only way forward, the best way. We might not have said the words, but I suspect all of us, each of us came this morning hoping for relief and succor. How do we make sense of any of it? How do we keep going? What can we do? And we want sanctuary. We want some place to feel better, to feel like there are possibilities. There have to be other possibilities. Beloveds, we create those possibilities by the promises we make, by not allowing ourselves to isolate in our pain and despair. We create possibilities by the covenant we create, by how we choose to be together and the values we hold together. This intentional way of being together, this choosing to center values which are distinctly countercultural, give us a chance to live not just out of our fears and despair, but out of our hope and our dreams. These Sundays in which we welcome new members into our covenant are very dear to me. Of course, it's true, I'm excited when people find resonance among us. And of course, I am reminded of my own surprise at going to church and feeling a connection so strong I wanted to join it. Of course, I'm excited that our congregation is a part of the spiritual journeys of these folks too. And of course, I am grateful for the ways that our congregation will be changed by this new combination of people. And I love that we read from Starhawk on these days. The words are so powerful, even as they are so simple. They are worth repeating. We are all longing to go home. We are all longing to go home to some place we've never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned. We can only catch a glimpse of it from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us, eyes will light up as we enter, and voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done, arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing, a circle of friends, some place where we can be free. I suspect all of our stories find connection in this reading. We were longing for something even if we hadn't named it for ourselves. We wanted home even if we had our own nest feathered for ourselves or with another or full of children. There is some way in which we wanted a home that hadn't been fulfilled. We wanted a place where our passions and commitments could be named and held. Perhaps we wanted that particularly in this time where there are, again, things that dare not be spoken aloud. Could it be true then? We wondered deep in, is there a place where things can be named? In a time when people's humanity is being debated on legislative floors and courtrooms, where people's humanity is being degraded publicly and cheered by throngs of people content to find scapegoats for their own fears, where people with marginalized identities have their lives openly threatened, and that threat justified as a mere difference of opinion on social media platforms which make people millions of dollars. Each of us wanted out of that and wanted a place where we felt welcomed and included, where someone recognized us and welcomed us in. We wanted a place in these lonely, despairing days where we could come in and feel strength in numbers and remember we're not alone. We long to belong. And all of the freedom and possibility that creates in our mind's eye, though we rarely, if ever, articulate it. And it feels so good to have found such a place where we are included as we are and invited to grow. It reminds me of the words that I centered us with this morning from Kathleen McTeague. You who are brokenhearted, who woke today with the winds of despair whistling through your mind, come in. You who are brave but wounded, limping through life and hurting with every step, come in. You who are fearful, who live with shadows hovering over your shoulders, come in. This is sanctuary, and it is for you. You who are filled with happiness, whose abundance overflows, come in. You who walk through your world with lightness and grace, who awoke this morning with strength and hope, you who have everything to give, come in. This is your calling, a riverbank to channel the sweet waters of your life, the place where you are called by the world's need. Here we offer in love. Here we receive in gratitude. Here we make a circle of the great gifts of breath, attention, and purpose. Come in. Come in. Do come in. Be community with us. This is sanctuary and is for you. It is for us. But beloveds, What happens when we are all in need? What if there are none of us who feel strong, happy, none who are floating on the wings of grace and hope, none who will offer the comfort, help, and aid? Where will relief and succor come from? You see, we need to ask that question of ourselves. You know, I have shared with you before that I came into Unitarian Universalism in a small church. The first church I served as a minister was also small, and I can tell you, in a small church, there is no escaping being seen. There isn't a back row. I know it sounds like that's impossible, but there is no back row. It is impossible to ignore that you are needed. We don't have that luxury here. It is easy to arrive and feel as if there is nothing for you to add. The doors are open, the lights are on, the people are greeting you, and they're smiling. The coffee is made. There are people ready and willing to care for and to teach your children. There is a message and music, and while in any given week you might not like either or both, they are of an expected quality. And in this embarrassment of riches, we may forget that this sanctuary, this community, is created by us, for us, and for those who care to join us. This community that means strength because it joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing. It is a web that exists because each of us is committed to it. It exists because we need each other. It exists because we stay and we restore it when we falter. It exists because we check in with ourselves and the needs of community. It exists because sometimes we extend ourselves beyond our own comfort, not because we want to, but because we can. It exists because despite what we have been told, it is human and wise to live in connection and interdependence with others. Jean Lohman wrote a beautiful, short, powerful poem called Shaking the Tree. She wrote, "Vine and branch, we're connected in the world of sound and echo, figure and shadow, the leaves contingent, roots pushing against the earth. An apple belongs to itself, to stem and tree, to air that claims it, then ground. Connections balance, each motion changes another, precarious, hanging together. We don't know what our lives support. And we touch in the least shift of breathing. We don't know what our lives support, and we touch in the least shift of breathing. Each holy thing is borrowed. Everything depends. Everything depends. Everything depends, and so do we. We need one another. We need community and sanctuary. And as my colleague, the Reverend Dr. Molly Rausch Gordon put it, we already know that love and loss are intertwined. And because we've accepted that tender truth, the power of care cannot be stopped. And this too is the promise of our faith. That when we accept the tender truth of our aching, dangerous, sustaining connection, the power of our care cannot be stopped. You know the whole woven web, joy and sorrow, hope and despair, and at our best, we are rooted in it and we are sustained by it, and there is nothing woven that we need to fear because we are learning to mend. Because we are willing to cry and rage together and dance and rejoice together. And with the strong threaded needle of our heartbreak and our care, we are present to all of it together. And that is where our power lies, in depending on each other and knowing we depend on each other and being unafraid to depend on each other because it's all woven so tight because everything depends. This is the power of covenant, of being in a world where tragedy abounds and in a time when so many rights we hold dear are being stripped away or are threatened, where the humanity of entire swaths of people is being denied and demonized. This is the time and the place in which we live. And against great odds, we have found each other and a faith tradition which says to each of us, all of us, lean in, care for each other. Together you are more powerful than you know. Together you create possibilities you can't see. In J.R.R. Tolkien's Fellowship of the Rings, there was a short portion of conversation between Frodo and Gandalf. Frodo says, "I wish it need not have happened in my time." Amen? I wish it need not have happened in my time. Gandalf says, so do I. And so do all who see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. May we decide to make peace with our need for one another, to be present, to give our attention, to give our intention, to appreciate the gift of covenant, the practice of staying and restoring. May we lean into each other and all that we might create together. So may it be. All my relations, Shanti, Shalom. Amen.